What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the Catch fam? It is Steven here, and in today's video, you know what it is. It is the must-start kickers for fantasy football going into week 16, the fantasy football playoff kickers, baby. That's what love and that's what life is all about. Speaking of, it is Christmas season, holiday season. I hope all of you are having a great time with family and friends and enjoying this time. And if you are not already a part of the Catch fam, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Come on and join the best community in all of fantasy football so we can chat about fantasy together over the holiday season. And if you like this video or any of the other videos we put out there, certainly appreciate it if you hit the like button as well. But most importantly, make sure to get in those comments. Let us know about some kicker options you got. Let us know about what's going on in your roster so we can set up your teams ahead of this weekend so we can get you looking right and on the nice list, not the naughty list. Let's get into it. Let's get into the must-start kickers. Up at number 1, we're talking about the number 3 kicker on the season guy, the little elf that wanted to be a dentist, baby. Nick Folk, 13 fantasy points against the Las Vegas Raiders and 11 fantasy points against the Arizona Cardinals 2 weeks before. I've been hammering this guy all season long. He's an absolute beast, an absolute legend. He was a ride or die homie last season, and he is a locked and loaded stud this season. That's why he is number 3. And going up against the Bengals, a favorable opponent for the kicker position. I think the Patriots and the Bengals, man, I don't got high hopes about what the Pats are going to do in this game. I don't got high hopes about the Patriots offense. But one thing I do got high hopes on is that when the Patriots do their drives, they are going to end in field goals for Nick Folk, because it has been a large sample size that we can look back and see that Nick Folk is very, very consistent with his volume on the year, more consistent than the majority of kickers in the league. And when he gets his opportunities, he flat out does not miss. And that is why he is one of the best kickers over the past few years in all of the NFL, guys. He's an absolute beast. He can hit it from deep, as he did this week against the Las Vegas Raiders, where he had one in the 50-plus range and also one in the 40 to 49 range. So he's got those big ticket points too, which really inflate his stats as well. Going up against the Bengals, I really like this matchup here. We've seen the Bengals kind of play kind of a bend but don't break style, where you move down the field but you end up getting stalled up in the red zone. And that is exactly what the Patriots have been doing all year long. And that's why they reside on their guy, Nick Folk, here. So monitor the weather. Obviously, this is not a dome game, but if there is no weather conditions, I think he's going to be a ride or die Christmas legend. Up next, talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Graham Gano from Florida State, guys. It's been a long time since he's been on these videos. He started off so hot, hotter than a fire and a flame, baby. He was amazing in the beginning of the season, was one of the top kickers in the league, guys. Took a step back, started to fall downwards, and that kind of paralleled with what the Giants offense was doing. But we did see him really bounce back in a big way, hitting 2 from 50 against the Washington Commanders. He was very pivotal in that victory there, and he had 12 fantasy points against those Commanders. Well, guess what's up, baby? It is the best gift that you can get as a fantasy owner when your kicker plays the Minnesota Vikings. If you have watched this video over the past few weeks, you know I've been hard pressed on targeting the Minnesota Vikings at the kicker spot. And we're talking about Greg Zuerlein. We're talking about Nick Folk. We're talking about Michael Badgley for the Lions. We're talking about Chase McLaughlin, who just had a monster game for the Indianapolis Colts. We're talking about 4 straight weeks of double-digit, locked and loaded top performances against this Vikings team. It is in the dome, guys. This is a just smash play, baby. You gotta put Graham Gano in your lineups. He's number 10 on the season, needs to be number 1 in your heart. He's under 50% rostered, right now 40% rostered. And I'm telling you guys, if you don't believe me, go look at the stats. This Vikings team needs to be streamed against, ladies and gentlemen. They are just opening up the reins of heaven for the kicker position. They are lighting up the scoreboard against these guys. You need to go and you need to go pick him up. Up next, we got the Abominable Snowman, number 4 in the season, Jason Myers, who has been on these videos non-stop this year. I just love what he is doing in Seattle. He had 9 fantasy points against the San Francisco 49ers. I talked about it last week. I wasn't super high on what he was going to do. I was a little discouraged in what I thought the Seattle Seahawks offense was going to be able to muster up. And he still had a good game. right around that double-digit mark. He still looked great. A large reason for that was he had a 50-plus yard field goal attempt, which he hit. He was lucky enough that the weather caused no issues. Well, now he's got one of the tastiest matchups he can get, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs here. They are very favorable against the kicker position. This game should offer some high scoring totals for both teams, both Kansas City, obviously, and Seattle, because they've got the weapons. They can do it. I'm not as worried without Tyler Lockett that this offense is going to stop being able to do what they've done all year. I think Goodwin comes in there. He does his job, right? And Kenneth Walker, he looked fresh. He looked electric against the San Francisco 49ers. So I think Jason Myers is going to get his opportunities. I think he's going to get it done against the Kansas City Chiefs. Ladies and gentlemen, put Jason Myers in your lineup in the biggest games of all games, the fantasy playoffs. You can trust Jason Myers here to do it for you. Up next, Clark Griswold, baby, the Christmas vacation. We're talking about the legend right here, Chase McLaughlin. 21 fantasy points against those Minnesota Vikings that I just can't stop streaming against, guys. He was absolutely sensational, electric, and as a Colts fan, it was just dreadful to see a record loss that they just had where they gave up the biggest lead of all time. That was terrible, but it was also beautiful to see Chase McLaughlin come into his full form and gain a top 10 ranking. He is now number 7 on the season. He looked fantastic. And guess what's best of all, guys? He is under 5% rostered, so he's all over the place. You can go get him. If you didn't get him, like I told you to last week, he's going to be out there in your league, so you need to go and snag him. Because guess what? I think he's got another great matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is going to be a good game script, right? This is in the Dome. This is in Indy, so there's no weather issues, right? And Chase has been doing it all year. I heard some comments about, he makes some misses, right? He has some hits. He's been good all year, right? Chase, I mean, he obviously hasn't had like a 21 fantasy point performance this year, but he did have a 17-point fantasy performance in Denver against the Denver Broncos. So this guy has massive ceiling, and he's been very consistent and very, very needed for this Colts team. Jeff Saturday has been very outspoken about if he is in range for a field goal, he's going to kick that field goal. Jeff Saturday is not leaving points on the table because there's not many points to give as there is, right? So Jonathan Taylor out, right? We understand that. This offense, bad. We understand that. But the Colts are going to be able to move the ball against this Swiss cheese Chargers defense, especially on the ground, whether it's Zach Moss or Deion Jackson or who knows who the Colts are rolling out there running back. But they're going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be able to give enough opportunities to Chase McLaughlin, guys. I mean, if you remember, obviously Jonathan Taylor is out, but he was out the entirety of that Vikings game, and the Colts were moving the ball up and down the field. So I do think that this is a good play. Chase McLaughlin, put him in your lineups against the Chargers to come back off of that 21-point boom performance he had against the Vikings. Up next, we're talking about Scrooge. He's been good and he's been bad, but I tell you what, I believe in him this week. We're talking about Brett Maher for the Dallas Cowboys up against the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off of 2 very strong performances where he had 12 against the Jacksonville Jaguars and 11 against the Houston Texans in 2 games that were very, very tight. And now he's going into another tight game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Brett was a guy I had a lot of love for in the beginning part of the season before Dak Prescott came back. He looked very good, very consistent. Then when Dak came back, this offense really took off, really lit up. And Brett was a little bit less needed, right? He was like that present that you forgot about the year before, right? Well, Brett Maher, he's been becoming more and more relevant, right? He obviously did have that 22-point performance against the Minnesota Vikings because everybody can light up the Minnesota Vikings, right? But going up against the Philadelphia Eagles here, follow my narrative, right? I think this is going to be a tough divisional matchup that is going to need the best out of everybody, and that's including the kicker position here. This is in Jerry's world, right? This game means everything to the Dallas Cowboys, who are reeling off of 2 pretty bad games from the Cowboys, right? Jalen Hurts banged up. The Eagles potentially really needing to rely on this defense, right? No more breaks, no more slip-ups, because if they don't have Hurts out there, right, this is a different type of ball game. This is a more methodical type of game script that we're going to see out of the Eagles, a slower, drain the clock type of game script, right? And I already think this is going to be a little bit low scoring in comparison to maybe what we would have seen from a non-divisional matchup, right? Because these 2 teams know each other. They've been strategizing for this game all season long. This is a very high stakes, big time game that is going to happen here. And if Hurts is out, you know, he is banged up, I think this offense is going to be a very different offense with Gardner Minshew. And I think Brett Maher is going to see the opportunities for the Dallas Cowboys because this Eagles defense is legit. They are for real. They are better on the run game recently. They're going to be able to stop up the Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard train that has been going more and more as of late, guys. And I think Brett Maher could be the guy that gets the victory for the Dallas Cowboys in this game. He is number 5 on the season right now. Under 50% rostered, Brett Maher is, and I think he's got a really good opportunity here for a good game, despite the fact that the Eagles are actually a tougher opponent against the kicker position on the season. But you have to factor in the fact that usually that's because they are blowing teams out of the water and nobody can kick against them, right? Because you need to score points against them. You need to score touchdowns to catch up with them. But I don't think that's going to be the game script here. I don't think that's going to be the situation here. And I think that Brett Maher is a good play on this week. Up next, talking about Nick Cage from Family Man. We're talking about Michael Badgley for the Detroit Lions, who's coming off of 3 really stellar games. 7 fantasy points against the Jets, 11 against those Minnesota Vikings, and 19 against the Jaguars 3 weeks ago. He's been looking really good. He's been looking really strong, and it's a large reason to do with the fact that this Detroit Lions offense is borderline unstoppable, right? Now he gets to go up against this Carolina Panthers team, which, again, really pooped the bed against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Well, Michael Badgley said, you want to poop your pants? No more. You are on the naughty list, Carolina Panthers. We are coming, and the Detroit Lions are going to make some noise against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers defense, they do have some weapons on the defensive side of the ball. I do like that defense, guys. But I think the Detroit Lions offense is in a whole nother type of class, guys. These dudes have been flying around. These guys have been scoring points at will. There is going to be an absolute ton of opportunity for Michael Badgley in this game to get extra points, to get field goals. I think he is in line for a very solid game here. I do think you can put him in, again, very low roster, 30%, guys. He is in for a good play here. And then the week after this week, he's got Chicago Bears, right? So another opponent where he could be needed. He could be getting some opportunities. He had 7 fantasy points against the Chicago Bears last time, and that was in Chicago. Definitely not as favorable of conditions. I remember that was a bad wind game. This time it's going to have the dome elements of Detroit. But I like him a lot this week against the Carolina Panthers. Definitely think you can go ahead and play him. There's been some motivation, some momentum to Michael Badgley recently, so go out and snag him because people might have his name out there in terms of waiver wire pickups already. Last kicker I want to talk about here, Kris Kringle, Ryan Succop for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Talk about suck up. He has been sucking recently, right? Ryan Succop for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been struggling recently, and honestly, it is not his fault at all. He went from being the #1 kicker on the season to all the way at number 16, and this is Tom Brady's fault, man. This offense has looked really bad recently. This offense is not getting it done, but I do think Ryan Succop is in for a good opportunity here, right? Because he gets to play the Arizona Cardinals, who are a favorable opponent for the kicker position. I think Ryan Succop is going to get those chances, get those opportunities that he has been so missing recently. It's in a dome, right? So we don't have to worry about any rain, anything like that that might have happened in Tampa. It is going to be Ryan Succop here. And I think if you are in a bad spot, I mean, this is a guy who is 20% rostered. If you believe in Tom Brady, right? If you believe in the Buccaneers, if you believe that this offense is going to be able to move the ball against the Arizona Cardinals, then go ahead and roster this man, Ryan Succop, because I do think that is going to happen. I think this Cardinals defense is in line for a pretty good game. They were mentioned in my defense video. But I do think that Ryan Succop is going to see the majority of the point total for this Buccaneers offense. I don't really have much faith in Mike Evans. I don't really have much faith in this offense to score touchdowns. That has been apparent all season long. They cannot get it done in the red zone, which is why exactly he was the #1 kicker in the early part of the season. He's had some rough opponents. He's had some rough chances, like against that San Francisco 49ers team, which is just absolutely insane. They shut down everybody, especially everybody at the kicker position. I think Succop's got a different situation this week against Arizona Cardinals. I think you can go ahead and play him. Just got to have Tom Brady get the job done for us on Christmas weekend, guys. So go ahead and play Ryan Succop. With that said, guys, this has been the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams going into Week 16, the Christmas edition, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you get to enjoy the Christmas time, the holiday time with your family and friends, and just get to kick back, eat good food, watch football, open presents, and enjoy time with each other. And also really encourage you to hit that subscribe button and join the best community in all of fantasy football, and enjoy some fantasy with us as well, so we can talk about fantasy. Join the Discord so we can chat about fantasy and food and your favorite Christmas movies. Definitely in the comments, don't only let me know about your kickers and defense and roster spots, because I want to know that, but I also want to know about what your favorite movies are for the holiday season. And if you enjoy this video or any of the other videos out there, we really appreciate it if you hit that like button too. It means a ton to the channel, guys. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments as always. So with all that said, this has been the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams. I hope you have a great Christmas. And remember, you saw it here first at The Catch.